I guess that's what it's really about. And to sum it up in just a few words, winning depends on being world class. And being world class means that we are very expert in what simply is just described as best practices. And the purchasing profession and the field of supply management has many, many best practices. When I'm involved in these gap analysis, which compares best practice to what an organization is doing, we work with over 150 best practices. So to really win, the first challenge is to find out, where are you on the road to world class? How many of these best practices have you really instituted? And of course, in the procurement world, we always talk about continuous improvement, because year after year, week after week, we can take each best practice and even make it better. So the first question is, where is your organization on the road to world class? Now, what I've done and what others have done, so this is not unique with me, but basically what I've just, I'm not happy to tell you this, but what I find is probably most procurement organizations in the world, no matter where in the world I'm working, and I work in most parts of the world, basically what I find is a large percentage of procurement organizations are not really procurement organizations. They're what I call getting organizations. And the people in them are not really procurement experts. They're what I call getters. Now, what are the characteristics of a getting organization? Well, I'm going to flip through these very quickly. We could spend a great deal more time on it. And when we have our programs at the Purchasing and Procurement Center, we do spend a great deal on this. But one of the characteristics, basically the focus is tactical. We are clerical. We are basically processing the paperwork. We're inputting data into the system. The skill levels of the buyers are relatively low. Our main function, as the organization looks at, is to make sure the paperwork gets done so that the suppliers can get paid, and so the receiving departments can receive things. In many ways, many of the procurement organizations I see, I have to really just tell them they're basically data input organizations. They respond to requisitions. We don't really do anything strategically. We don't plan. Most procurement organizations know very well what they're going to buy next year because they probably bought it this year and they bought it last year. Rather than use that knowledge to help us plan for the future, we just wait to be turned on through requisitions or requests. These requisitions and requests basically are there just to confirm what other people have already decided. Other functions have picked the suppliers, in many cases have selected the pricing, maybe even defined the terms and conditions. Procurement, again, is just there to do the data entry. If we look at how are we considered, we're viewed as simply as overhead. Very low value added. We contribute little or nothing to the bottom line. We are seen basically just as a service organization or support group. If you look at our reporting level, it tends, in the getting organization, the reporting level tends to be very low. You're not in the executive management area. You may be reporting many levels down so that it's hard to get your voice heard. When we look at the data that you use, basically you have little or no data. If you do have any data, it's just usually used for expediting purposes, but very little data mining or analysis is performed. So now why don't we take a look at where we want to go? We want to move to world class. What does that look like in the way of a supply management organization? Well, the first thing I think that makes a real big difference is the strategic focus. As a matter of fact, some of you probably are in organizations where you are described as strategic sourcing to begin to sort of cement that concept. Your organization and your executive management sees supply management as a core competence of the entire organization. As a matter of fact, in that kind of an organization, we would be expecting the CEO to say, our success is based on the fact of how well our procurement group performs. That's why we are so competitive in the market. That's why we are so profitable. As compared to the Getting organization and world-class organizations, you are very focused on developing the strategies and ensuring that the strategies are implemented. Instead of just being given suppliers, we actually develop the supply chain by our design. We decide where the suppliers should be, how they relate to other suppliers, how they will relate to us. We are very active in managing strategic alliances. We have partnerships. We make sure that there's a strong area of collaboration with our suppliers. We'll talk about that again. Of course, we've developed the best suppliers in the world. We have the best performance measurement. We do very careful supplier assessment so that we have virtually defect-free material, on-time deliveries. This is a very exciting area that we are all working on right now, and that is being able to integrate our systems with our suppliers. And of course, in your sales organizations, they are working at integrating with their customers. So the whole concept that we're working on is to be able to do transactions from the time someone needs something to the time it gets paid for without having people involvement. We'd like that all to be done system to system. We take a very active role in identifying the supply risk, managing the supply risk, and developing mitigation to that risk. We're not thinking about just price anymore. We are actually focused on total cost of ownership. We have developed a supply base that is highly collaborative. They participate in our research and development. They are there to help us solve our delivery and quality issues, and we would like to see this through the entire supply chain. We are able to articulate in a very clear way what is our impact on the bottom line. This is the one that I'm looking forward to. I would like to see every organization in the world where there is a chief procurement officer, just like there's a CEO and a COO and a CFO. We would like to see every company in the world have a CPO that's on the executive staff and committee. When we look at data, there's lots of data. Purchasing has been very involved in setting up the systems and understanding what data it needs to really be much more strategic. And of course, the last point that we want to see in a world-class organization is highly skilled personnel. Personnel that gain the respect and admiration of the entire organization because of their knowledge, not only of procurement, but knowledge of the commodities or the services or the things that they buy. So, of course, getting to world class, everywhere I go, everybody pretty much accepts that these are our objectives. But the big issue is, how do we move from where we are to where we want to be? And frankly, what I have to say to you is this is going to be something that each one of you has to work on individually. Because here's the question: how do we get to world class in supply management if you're not the one who does it? Who else in your organization will do it?